This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. Gunmen kidnap at least 50 women and children in Nigeria's Zamfara state. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu takes witness stand for the first time for alleged corruption charges. And Israel denies its forces have gone past Syria buffer zone but continues heavy airstrikes seizing strategic Mount Hermon. And Taiwan raises alert as China deploys largest naval fleet in 3 decades to region. Well, over 50 women and children are reportedly kidnapped by a gang of gunmen in a raid on Kakindawa village in Nigeria's northwest Zamfara state, according to the police and residents. Kidnapping for ransom by gunmen, known by locals as bandits, is rife in northwest Nigeria due to high levels of poverty, unemployment and proliferation of illegal firearms. Zamfara police said the incident took place on Sunday and that additional security forces have been deployed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took the witness stand for the first time on Tuesday in his long-running corruption trial to give testimony. Netanyahu is Israel's first sitting prime minister to be charged with a crime. He is the country's longest-serving leader, having been in power for almost consecutively since 2009. Israel has been in conflict with Gaza for more than a year, during which Netanyahu had been granted a delay for the start of this court appearances. But last Thursday, judges ruled that he must start testifying. Charged with bribery, fraud and breach of trust, Netanyahu will testify 3 times in a week. Get you some Syria updates as Syria faces a historic turning point after the dramatic fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime. Rebels are inching closer towards a transitional government. Regional powers like Turkey and Israel are reacting while world leaders warn of a potential instability. Meanwhile, Israel continues to vehemently deny that its forces have penetrated into Syrian territory beyond the buffer zone with the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights after Syrian sources claim the incursion had extended to within 25 kilometers of the capital, Damascus. Nupur of DD India gets us more.
The Assad regime has fallen, but Syria remains gripped by anxiety as multiple powers vie for influence. The power vacuum in Syria is more pronounced in various parts of the nation which are under the control of different factions. Israel sent troops into a buffer zone on the east of the Israeli-annexed Golan Heights, though Tel Aviv maintains that its actions are limited to protecting its own security.
We are taking all the actions necessary to try to ensure our security with regard to the new situation created in Syria. And the State of Israel is establishing its position as a center of power in our region as it has not been for the decades. Those who cooperate with us benefit greatly. Those who attack us lose big. We want to see a different Syria both for our benefit and for the benefit of the people of Syria.
World powers are also expressing concern. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has warned of a possible ISIS resurgence, but assured that the US is committed to preventing it.
The end of this regime is a defeat for all who enabled its barbarity and its corruption, none more than Iran, Hezbollah, and Russia. So this moment presents a historic opportunity, but it also carries considerable risks. History shows how quickly moments of promise can descend into conflict and violence. ISIS will try to use this period to reestablish its capabilities, to create safe havens. As our precision strikes over the weekend demonstrate, we are determined not to let that happen.
The changing security situation has altered the diplomatic scenario too. Even as Turkey has reopened border crossings to encourage Syrian refugees to return. Many European nations, including Germany and France, have temporarily frozen asylum applications. Rebel commander Abu Muhammad al-Golani met with Assad's former Prime Minister Mohammad Jalali and Vice President Faisal Mekdad on Monday to negotiate the transfer of power. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting late Monday where diplomats expressed shock at the rapid collapse of Assad's regime just 12 days after the rebel offensive began. Bashar al-Assad fled to Moscow on Sunday, marking the end of over 50 years of Assad family dominance. For Syrians, the sudden change at helm has rekindled hope of peace and prosperity after 13 years. The war has claimed lives of hundreds of thousands and displaced millions. As Syria navigates the uncertainties at this pivotal moment, the world is also following the developments with keen interest, knowing its future could reshape the region for decades to come. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, RT correspondent Maria Finoshina has sent us this report from Golan Heights on Israel's advancement into Syria. Listen in.
Now in Majd al-Shams, a village on the Golan Heights, right at the border with the buffer zone separating Israel and Syria. This is what the fence behind me marks, and this gate is the entrance to this zone. Just now we saw Israeli troops entering here, so lots of soldiers and vehicles on this part of the border. On Saturday evening, Israel's war cabinet decided to take full control of this buffer zone, including the Syrian side. The residents and we can now see Israeli tanks, armored vehicles and soldiers, not only here as before, but on the other side of this fence. For the first time since 1967, when Israel first seized the Golan Heights from Syria during the Six-Day War. This zone, a strip of land approximately 80 kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide, was established as part of the 1974 disengagement agreement. Until recently, this zone was jointly controlled by Syrian troops and a UN monitoring force. A bit up there, I hope you can see their base. But with Assad's army withdrawing following the fall of Damascus, it's now only the UN and Israel. One might call it seizing the opportunity, but Israel insists they took control over the buffer zone in a purely defensive and temporary move. The IDF is emphasizing it has no intention of staying in that zone permanently. The goal, it says, is to secure Israeli borders and prevent the Syrian conflict from spilling into Israel. How long this presence will last remains unclear.
In other news, Russia has announced that the war in Ukraine will continue until President Vladimir Putin's objectives are achieved, stating that no negotiations are currently taking place because the Ukrainian side refuses any talks. President Putin has demanded that Ukraine renounce its plans to join NATO and cede control of 4 regions that Moscow claims as its own, and conditions that Kyiv dismisses as equivalent to surrender.
The special military operation will end when all the objectives set by the President and Commander-in-Chief have been achieved. These goals can be achieved as a result of the special military operation or a result of relevant negotiations. There has been no negotiation process yet. As you know, the Ukrainian side refuses any negotiations. This is why the special military operation continues to a victorious end.
Earlier responding to media discussion on lowering the draft age for Ukrainian soldiers, President Zelensky emphasized on equipping and training existing brigades rather than compensating it with the youth. He also prioritized providing missiles and lowering Russia's military potential, adding that the goal should be to preserve as many lives as possible. South Korean parliament has passed a bill to request special counsel to investigate martial law cases. Earlier, President Yoon Suk-yeol apologized for his botched attempt to impose martial law and said that he was leaving his political and legal fate to his party but has not resigned yet. He has been banned from leaving the country so far. While Yoon survived an impeachment vote in parliament on Saturday, his party's decision to delegate presidential authority to the Prime Minister has plunged the key US ally into a constitutional crisis. In a significant and alarming development, the Taiwanese Defense Ministry said that China is deploying its largest Navy fleet in the region, including around Taiwan, in nearly 3 decades, with the threat level more severe than previous Chinese military exercises around the island. Senior Ministry Intelligence Officer Si Zhishang said that China had nearly 90 Navy and Coast Guard ships near Taiwan, and 47 military aircrafts were detected operating around the island over the past 24 hours. He further added that so far there have been no live fire drills in China's 7 reserved airspace zones, 2 of which are in the Taiwan Strait.
This number of China Navy and Coast Guard ships in the region was indeed very alarming, and how they are scattered is beyond the eastern border of Taiwan between the first and the second island chain. I think China's intention is very clear.
Shifting focus to Haiti, where in the Haiti's capital around 200 people were killed over the weekend after attacks that an NGO said were ordered by a gang leader who suspected his child has been made ill using witchcraft. Haiti's Prime Minister's office strongly has condemned these killings, and he said in a statement that a red line has been crossed, adding it would mobilize all forces to track down and annihilate those responsible, including the gang leader. Meanwhile, American Airlines has indefinitely suspended all flights to Haiti amid growing safety concerns and rising tensions. United Nations spokesperson said that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has condemned gang violence and loss of life in Haiti and has called on the Haitian authorities to conduct a thorough investigation and ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice.
The Secretary General expresses his deepest sympathy and condolences to the families of the victims of this horrific act. The Secretary General calls on the Haitian authorities to conduct a thorough investigation and ensure that perpetrators to these and all other human rights abuses and violations are brought to justice. The Secretary General reiterates once again his pressing call to member states to provide the multinational security support mission the financial and the logistical support required to successfully assist the Haitian National Police in addressing gang violence.
Still to come on DD India Live. On the other side, we talk about France's largest internet operator, Orange, slapped with $53 million fine for sending unsolicited adverts resembling emails to customers. And India's defense minister is in Moscow, holds talks with his Russian counterpart.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Goa, an adventure paradise like none other. From lush forests to rugged hills, from pristine ocean beach stretches to stunning lakes, there is something to explore in every corner of the state. And some adventures are wilder than others. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and now let's move on to some more news and updates. France's largest internet operator, Orange, was slapped with a $53 million fine for sending unsolicited ads resembling emails to customers, the country's privacy watchdog. Advertisers in France are required to obtain permission before sending material to a person's email address. Now, according to the watchdog, over 7.8 million users have received these unsolicited ads. Orange, which is also a leading telecommunications firm with a popular email service, has vowed to appeal against the penalty. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh met his Russian counterpart Andrei Belousov in Moscow today. Belousov underlined the enduring friendship between Russia and India, emphasizing the mutual trust between the two nations' leaders as a critical factor in strengthening bilateral relations. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldiers in Moscow. Earlier, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh interacted with the members of the Indian community during the visit to Russia, celebrating the strong cultural ties and contributions of Indians abroad. In his interaction, the Defence Minister appreciated the contributions of Indian diaspora and highlighted India's growth trajectory. Well, from India's Prime Minister to US President discussing the same Ukraine conflict in the same luxurious cabin, this train has seen it all. We are talking about Rail Force One, which is owned by Ukrainian Railways and represents an incredible feat of luxury on tracks of diplomacy. Here's more.
Rail Force One isn't just a catchy name, it's a train which represents the incredible feat of iron diplomacy. The train has ferried various prominent world leaders from US President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This train has earned the fame for the safest and most reliable way to Kiev. Prime Minister Modi undertook a 10-hour-long rail journey from Poland to Ukraine on board the Rail Force One. With his historic visit that held significant diplomatic weight, Prime Minister Modi became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Kiev. The train, which is run by the state-owned Ukrainian Railways, which is also the 6th largest railway passenger transporter in the world and 7th for freight, is painted blue and yellow, the colors of Ukraine's flag. The interior of Train Force One is just as impressive as its guest list, consisting of wood-paneled cabins, kitted out for executive-level work, a long table, a sofa and TV on the wall. But why does this train matter to Ukraine? Trains in the Ukrainian railway network have played an important role in the war effort, including helping transport aid across the country. As the Russia-Ukraine conflict started, many Ukrainians rushed to train stations in an attempt to escape to safer places or to leave the country. For Ukraine, the railway's triumph quickly became another public relations boon and a morale booster. Ukraine's widespread railway network has always been popular, and domestic travelers often favor trains over planes. The train has several luxury compartments previously used to ferry wealthy tourists to the peninsula on the Black Sea. Ayushi Bhatnagar's report for DD India.
Back home in New Delhi, Vigyan Bhavan became the center stage for the Human Rights Day 2024 celebrations organized by the National Human Rights Commission. This event focused on mental well-being, navigating stress from classroom to workplace, and was graced by the President of India as the chief guest. Here's a detailed report.
Human Rights Day 2024 was commemorated with a focus on mental well-being at New Delhi. The National Human Rights Commission organized the event, emphasizing the importance of addressing mental health challenges in diverse settings, from educational institutions to workplaces. On this occasion, the President launched the annual English and Hindi journals of the NHRC. These journals include a compilation of essays by scholars offering valuable insights on the evolving landscape of human rights. In her address, the President of India emphasized India's role as the voice of the voiceless on the global stage, highlighting the country's commitment to championing human rights and equality. She commended the NHRC for its dedicated efforts in empowering marginalized communities, including transgenders and the LGBTQ population. The President also stressed the urgent need to address global challenges like cyber safety, which affect human rights and mental well-being.
सरकार सभी के लिए आवास, स्वच्छ पेयजल, बेहतर स्वच्छता, बिजली, रसोई गैस और वित्तीय सेवाओं से लेकर स्वास्थ्य सेवा और शिक्षा तक कोई सामाजिक, आर्थिक और सांस्कृतिक अधिकारों की गारंटी भी देती है।
The event brought together policymakers, mental health professionals, and human rights advocates, reinforcing a collective commitment to creating a more equitable, inclusive, and secure world. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
India's One Nation, One Subscription scheme is set to revolutionize academic research, providing free access to top journals for 1.8 crore students, faculty and researchers across 6,300 institutions. And with 6,000 crore allocated over 3 years, this initiative aims to democratize knowledge, foster innovation and strengthen India's global research footprint.
In a landmark decision, the Indian government has approved the One Nation, One Subscription scheme aiming to democratize access to scholarly research. With a substantial outlay of Rs 6,000 crore over 3 years, this initiative promises free access to thousands of journals for over 1.8 crore students, faculty and researchers across 6,380 institutions, including those in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities.
India has been subscribing to journals through different library consortia under various ministries and departments and institutions, and also subscribe to them separately. Now, this was realized about 2 years back that this leads to overlap in the subscribed resources and inefficient utilization of the funds, as well as not having a very wide reach of the journals.
The scheme will centralize subscriptions, enabling higher education and R&D institutions to access premium research seamlessly through a unified digital portal. This revolutionary step aligns with the National Education Policy 2020 and the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, fostering interdisciplinary research and innovation.
This is also aligned with other national initiatives like Anusandhan National Research Foundation and AI mission and so on, all the knowledge-based missions.
Globally, the research ecosystem is embracing open access models. While traditional publishers charge high subscription fees for work funded by taxpayers, the One Nation, One Subscription scheme seeks to level the playing field, ensuring equitable knowledge access.
We are expanding this access to our state public universities and other universities who do not have any budget to subscribe to these journals. So it is available to all the readers, particularly state public universities who earlier did not have funds, or affiliated colleges who did not have funds to subscribe to this.
The One Nation, One Subscription scheme is empowering India's academic community to innovate, collaborate, and lead in shaping the future of knowledge. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
India's leather and footwear industry aims to expand its presence in the UAE market as it makes a strong showing at DIFLEX 2024. With 43 manufacturing exporters participating in the region's largest leather products and footwear exhibition currently underway at Festival Arena, Dubai Festival City. Leading the Indian delegation, R. Selvam, Executive Director of the Council of Leather Exports, announced that trade volume with the UAE has nearly doubled from its previous level of $162 million, with projections to reach $350 million in the coming years.
India now is emerging in a very big way in leather and footwear sector, and many of the major players are from footwear manufacturing, especially from Agra side and also from Kanpur and from Chennai and Delhi also. They exhibit footwear, leather footwear and handbags and harness and jewelry and other non-leather products also in this market. And after CEPA agreement, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement between India and UAE, that trade volume has increased. Earlier it was around 70-80 million in the UAE trade. UAE buys per year around 2.5 billion. Out of 2.5 billion, our trade was only 80 million. After CEPA agreement, now it has jumped up to 130, 140 million. There is a very big jump. The growth is very phenomenal after the SIPA agreement. India now is emerging.
Well, in other news, civil society members representing more than 200 social and cultural organizations on Tuesday carried out a protest march to the Bangladesh embassy in India's national capital, Delhi. The protests were staged against the attacks on Hindus and human rights violations in the neighboring country. People participating in the protest demanded a stern message from the Indian government to Bangladesh to stop the ongoing violence against Hindu minorities in the country. Well, India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. With that, it's time to wrap up this edition of DD India Live. We'll be back with more updates. Stay tuned to us on DD India.